Welcome back to Data to Decisions. In this video, we're going to focus on data preparation in order for us to create these schedules. So this is the follow-up to the previous video where we talked about the NFL schedule for the 2023 season. Again, even though we're talking about this sports topic and the focus is more on the techniques that we are using here can be applied to a lot of different scenarios. And what I try to do is to make sure that the technique that we learn is clear enough so that we can apply it to a lot of different business scenarios in your workplace. So here, for example, the final output will be an interactive little widget type of visual that can be part of dashboards where I can, interact with it to actually, for example, get the weekly schedule. So every week, which teams are playing where, and I can have images or logos automatically dynamically appear, and it can have any number of games. Sometimes it's 16 games, sometimes 15, sometimes 13. So it's dynamic. And the same thing on if I want to see the schedule for a 32 teams, and I can click on any specific team and see their schedule dynamically. So this is the effect that we are going after finally. But in order for us to get there, which we will cover in the next video, but in order for us to get there, we have to do the groundwork, which is to take the data, the schedule data, which is available in the structure of a grid, and then convert it first of all into detailed list of games. So there are, ultimately this table, for example, we will end up with 304 rows of data, including the buy, but we will have every team playing the game and then the total number of games, and then we will also have the buy. And we can easily filter the buys out separately to actually arrive at total number of games in the NFL regular season. So the first thing is to structure the data, and then we will also bring in the standings data. So for each team, what is their record right now? How many losses? So we will use this. The reason why we are bringing it in is if you remember in our final output in the schedules, we will be displaying their record. So in order, this is again just to illustrate how we can bring two separate tables of data, and then we are going to be able to combine them and create a more unified visual which pulls the data together and then makes the output dynamic. So this is what we're going to do in this video and the upcoming videos. So we'll start this video with grabbing the data from the schedule, creating the list of NFL games. So now this is where we stopped from the previous video where we already loaded the grid data into a table via Power Query. So I'm going to right click on the grid connections and hit edit. And we're going to go into the Power Query editor again. And this time what we're going to do is to not edit the grid query, but I'm going to right click on the left side panel. We'll do the right click on the query and say reference. And this is because I don't want to change that query, but I want to create something from it. So I'm going to call this as the games because my goal is that at the end of these steps, I want to be able to have all the games as individual rows of data. Right now, it is all in a grid format. So the first thing I'm going to do is to click on the team column and then say unpivot all other columns. And now what happens is, let's just take an example to understand how this works. If I go to my previous step of source, Arizona in week 1 was playing at Washington and week 2 against New York. So let me go to the next step. Arizona, week 1 plays at Washington, week 2 in New York Giants. So basically the columns became rows, which is what we want. We want everything to be rows. And now there are 576 rows. The 576 rows is nothing but 32 teams, 18 weeks of data. So 32 times 18 will give you 576. But what we want is also to make sure that, you know, the same game should not be appearing multiple times. So let's take an example of Arizona playing against Atlanta in week 10. But if I go to row 28, Atlanta plays Arizona in week 10. So it's basically the same game appearing two times. So I want to make sure that one game appears only once. And so that is the count that we want. So basically everything should become half. So 576, we would be dividing it by 2 in order to get there. And then we will still have bye week. So anyway, we'll deal with that later. But first thing is, how do I make a single game into a single row instead of two rows? Let's start creating some columns first. I want to first of all know which is the home team and then the away team. So I want to capture both in one row. So right now, for example, Arizona plays at Washington. So in this case, Washington is the home team, Arizona is the away team. So how do I do it? Custom column. And we're going to write a formula to say which is the home team. So if there is a function called text starts with, let me use that. Text starts with, if, for example, the value column, comma, if it starts with the at symbol, what does it mean? If it starts with the at symbol, they are playing at Washington. Washington is a home team. So I want to use the value column, but I want to remove the at symbol. So we will use another function called text.range. And this time in the value column, offset by 1. So basically, I don't want the at symbol. Okay. And it'll all be clear once it is done. We will take a look at the examples. What if it doesn't start with an and? Then who's the home team? So let's take the second row. Arizona plays against New York Giants, but who's the home team? Arizona. So in this case, team is the team, the value in the team column is the home team. So that's it. So let's say, okay, and let's test it out. So home team for the first game is Washington. The second game is Arizona. So clearly that's working. So let's do another one for away team or the road team, away team. This time we will use the same function text starts with, right? Text starts with, and this time if there is an at symbol, we've already know who the home team is, but who should be the away team? So if this starts with an at symbol, then the away team is the team. So I'm going to say there's a lot of teams here, but it's the team column. And then what if it doesn't start with it? So let's take the second row. The Arizona playing against New York Giants at Arizona. So who's the away team? The value column. So I'm going to choose the value column. And again, we'll test it like before. First row, Washington is the home team, Arizona is the away team. And then the Arizona playing New York Giants. Arizona is the home team. New York Giants is the away team. So basically, we are now able to bring it into one row, home and away team side by side. So that's good, but we still have 576 rows, right? So before we start figuring out how to reduce the number of rows, there's one more column that I want to add, which is I would call it like matchup or whatever the game is, right? So this is basically who's playing against who. And I will do a simple home team. I'll just do a dash as a concatenated with our away team. And then this is just saying, okay, Washington, Arizona. So the home team hyphen away team. Okay, simple. Now this will help us actually do remove all the duplicate values, right? So let's watch out for this. Row number 10, Arizona, Atlanta. Row number 28, Arizona, Atlanta. These two are the same, it's the same game. So they have the same value in the matchup column. So now I can select the matchup column and I say remove duplicates. So watch out for the bottom left. There are 576 rows. As soon as I remove the duplicates, it becomes 304 rows. And it is 304 rows because we have 32 teams. They all have bye. And so that's adding up. So there is not really 304 games being played because this includes bye. So for example, row number 14, Arizona bye. So this is something that if I really don't want buys in my data set, I can actually filter them away easily by going to the away team column. And if I remove the buys from here, okay, remove, hit okay. Now I get 272 rows. So this is the actual number of games that are being played. This is the actual number of NFL games played during the regular season, 272. But for some purposes, I think, which we will see later in this video, having the buy records is helpful. So I don't want to remove the buys, but I'm just trying to illustrate that if you remove the buys, you will get exactly the number of the NFL regular season. So I'm gonna remove the filter. We don't want to do it. So now we have the table of games. So I can go and say close and load. This will load it into our worksheet as a new sheet, call games, and then it'll create a table, call games with 304 rows. So that's basically what we need to get to convert the grid data into a series of games or records as games. So there you have it, 304 rows loaded into the games table in the game sheet. We will continue in the next video of bringing in the standings data from ESPN.com, and then later we will use all of this data to create the schedule visuals, which are interactive ways of looking at the team schedules as well as the weekly schedule for the NFL. So I'll look forward to seeing you in that video. Thank you so much for watching.